Most people think identity is expressed through words. But inside a home, identity is often silent. It shows up in objects, symbols, and choices that seem simple on the surface but carry deeper meaning over time. When someone walks into a space, they immediately start forming impressions, not from conversations, but from visual cues. The items displayed create a narrative about the person who lives there, even before a single word is spoken. Political identity is one of the strongest forms of personal expression today. And for many people, it doesn't stay outside. It enters their home, shaping the environment in subtle but consistent ways. This doesn't always happen intentionally. Sometimes people simply choose items they feel connected to. But over time, those choices begin to reflect a pattern that aligns with deeper beliefs and values. A flag on the wall, a symbolic statue, a framed image. Each element adds a layer. Alone, they may seem insignificant. Together, they create a clear message about identity and perspective. The interesting part is that most of these choices are emotional first, logical second. People feel drawn to certain symbols before they fully analyze why those symbols matter to them. That emotional pull is often tied to meaning built over time. Cultural context, personal experiences, and exposure to certain ideas all shape how someone reacts to a symbol. This is why two people can see the same object and feel completely different reactions. One sees meaning, the other sees decoration. The difference is not the object, but the perspective behind it. Inside a home, these symbols become part of daily life. They are seen repeatedly, reinforcing the same ideas and emotions over time without requiring active attention. This repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity creates comfort. When people feel their environment reflects their beliefs, it reduces internal conflict and strengthens identity alignment. For many, this alignment is important. It creates a sense of stability, especially in a world where external information can feel overwhelming or inconsistent. That's where symbolic decor becomes more than aesthetic. It becomes psychological. It helps people feel grounded in what they believe, even when external situations change. Political identity adds another layer to this dynamic. It's not just about personal taste. It's about how someone interprets society, leadership, and the direction of the country. When those interpretations are strong, people often look for ways to express them, not always loudly, but consistently. And the home becomes one of the safest places to do that. Objects chosen for this purpose tend to have clear symbolism. They are not ambiguous. They represent something specific that the owner wants to be associated with. This clarity is important. The stronger the symbol, the easier it is to communicate meaning without explanation. The object does the talking on behalf of the person. Over time, these items can also influence how the space feels, not visually, but emotionally. They shape the atmosphere in subtle ways that affect mood and perception. That's why some people feel more comfortable in certain environments than others. It's not always about design. It's about alignment between the space and personal beliefs. Political collectibles often play a role in this process. They combine symbolism with identity, creating objects that feel both personal and expressive at the same time. Some people display these items openly. Others prefer more subtle placement. The level of visibility depends on how strongly someone wants to communicate their identity outwardly. There is also a social aspect to this. Visitors notice these details. Even without discussion, they form impressions based on what they see in the environment. This creates a form of silent communication. The space itself becomes a message, reducing the need for direct conversation about beliefs or positions. For many, this is more comfortable than verbal expression. It allows them to express identity without confrontation or explanation. At the same time, it can also attract like-minded individuals. People who recognize the symbols may feel an instant sense of connection or understanding. This shared recognition strengthens the sense of belonging. Even in private spaces, identity can still connect people through subtle signals. Choosing the right item becomes important in this context. It's not just about appearance. It's about whether the object truly reflects the intended message. Generic items often fail to create this connection. they lack the depth needed to trigger emotional or symbolic recognition. More meaningful items tend to have strong design, clear symbolism, and relevance to the audience they are meant to represent. That combination increases their impact. It makes them feel intentional rather than random, which enhances their role in the environment. Over time, these objects become part of personal identity. They are no longer just items. They are representations of belief systems and perspectives. This is why people rarely remove them once placed. The connection becomes part of how they see their space and themselves. Understanding this behavior helps explain why certain products resonate more than others. It's not about trends. It's about meaning. And meaning is subjective. It depends entirely on the person viewing the object and the associations they bring with them. That's what makes this type of decor unique. It doesn't try to appeal to everyone. It resonates deeply with a specific group of people. If you're exploring this kind of expression, it's worth thinking beyond appearance. Focus on what the object represents and how it aligns with your perspective. Because the goal is not to impress others visually, it's to create an environment that feels authentic and consistent with your identity. When that alignment exists, the space becomes more than a place to live. It becomes a reflection of who you are. And that reflection doesn't need explanation. It is understood through symbols, choices, and presence. If you want to see how this works in a real example, there's a detailed page in the description that breaks down one of these symbolic items and what it represents. Check the official page in the description to explore how symbolism, identity, and design come together in a single piece.